It's the matchup presented by DraftKings. I'm your host, Travis Fulton. Thank you for making us part of your day. Coming to you from my town that I grew up in here, northern Idaho, a little town called Pinehurst in the pro shop right now. We call this Pinehurst number 1 up here. Perhaps you've heard of Pinehurst number 2. That's on the East Coast. Pinehurst number 1 is up here in the Pacific Northwest. Little 9 holes. You got 18 different tees. I'll be playing it this afternoon in Men's Day, taking money off of some of the people that I grew up with. I can't wait for that. This guy joining me over here on the right. It's been too long. He was part of our first couple shows here on the matchup earlier in the year. He's back. He's in Canada. He's dropped his kids off. He's primed. He's ready. And I also think he's ready for a Chargers-Seahawks Super Bowl. Jeff Feinberg, how you doing, buddy?
I am ready, very much ready for any Super Bowl. I guess I broke out my training camp wardrobe also. Travis, it's July. I don't know, time to get my training camp clothes on. I got to dust off the old Marty Schottenheimer sun hat for the golf course because it's that time of year. It's a hot one and I burn easily. So yeah, training camp, all my training camp gear is starting to come out. I guess as you can see, I was feeling the vibes today.
It looks good. The baby blue. I love it. And you've got yourself a franchise quarterback, and that's what it takes in the NFL. Yeah. You've got to get a franchise quarterback. Of course, I live in Ponte Vedra, which is right next to Jacksonville. And Trevor Lawrence is in town, and that's what it takes. People are excited, and you can cover up a lot of issues, in the NFL. And you can win a Super Bowl. We've seen it with that second-tier quarterback, but it's like golf, right? Eventually, you've got to make some putts. You've got to get the approach game, and you get that franchise quarterback, and that's kind of now you've got everybody, right? You can win major championships. Whoops, things like that. Hold on 1 second here. My camera just fell. There we go. Now we're back. You get a franchise quarterback, then you got it all, right? Now you've got the approach game, you've got putting, you've got short game. You've got everything you need to win major championships and hopefully eventually a Super Bowl, which would your head explode if you won a Super Bowl, Jeff?
I don't know. It's one of those weird things where it's like, as much as I want them to win one so badly, the smallest part of me is nervous. So what happens after they win one? Is anything supposed to change? Well, so if this quest is now complete? Because I've always just told myself I would be so satisfied with one. But I imagine if you're lucky enough to get one and you have a really good quarterback, you just get greedy. And then if you're a Seahawks fan, you resent the fact that you only have one at this point. I don't know through this window.
Well, what was different with Seattle was that, first off, back to your first question. When you win one, it's the greatest hangover in the world. The next morning, you're just, God, I feel terrible, but I don't care. And then you get back to the dance like we were able to, and you throw an interception on the 1 yard line, and it's like going birdie, triple bogey. It's like, what just happened? Someone punched me in the face on the way out of this stadium and put me out of my misery. But anyway.
It's not just going triple bogey, Travis. It's literally like 6 putting from 4 feet, I think, to make triple.
That's
you didn't hit it off the tee, OB. Yeah. You literally were putting for albatross.
It's like having Russell Henley at the Travelers when the tournament falls your way and you're going into 15 1 back and you play the last 4 1 under and you get into a playoff and you go double. That's exactly what it's like. Anyway, Henley's in the field this week, John Deere Classic. And my God, he's probably a favorite because it's slim pickings here at TPC Deere Run. And the John Deere Classic, of course, always sits right before the Open Championship. A lot of guys over playing the Scottish Open. But this show is about the John Deere, and you're going to want to pay attention because there's a lot of money to be made here with DraftKings. And we'll get right into it here. The course, Jeff, quickly. We're looking at really very similar stuff to what we saw last week in Detroit. You got to go low here, although they didn't go as low last week as perhaps we thought they would. although on Sunday there was a lot of fireworks coming in, a lot of low numbers. But at the John Deere, I've played this course a few times. The rough is long, but these guys, they're going to hit a lot of fairways here. They're going to hit a lot of greens here. They're going to hit it close. They're going to get up and down more often. You've got to make birdies. What are some metrics you're looking at here as you break this down in this golf course historically kind of player we're looking for?
I would say again, Travis, well, the course is different than last week. Approach play and putting. You look at the players that have absolutely dominated here, be it Zach Johnson, be it Steve Stricker, fantastic approach players that can plot it out off the tee, and they're able to get unconscious with the putter. So I believe you're going to have to look for solid approach play players. That's no different than any other week. But an emphasis for me, who kind of like last week, when looking at it, normally I'm all about putt luck, but you got to have an ability to have serious spike putting weeks, not just consistent putting, through your season, but the ability to have spike putting weeks is more important here than anywhere, and that's something I rarely honestly consider. Because when trying to map my way through a PGA Tour event.
Yeah. Well, you start thinking about guys like a Kyle Stanley, a Doug Gim, guys that are going to give it to you in the approach game, but can't hit their ass with a handful of rice when it comes to putting. And can they have that big spike, that +6 or 7 in putting? Because if they did, they're going to be there late on Sunday because they're going to give it to you in the approach game. So let's see if we can project out here and give some people, some ideas here on guys we're looking at that we know can give them the ball striking. And it seems like a lot of wedges, 9s, 8s, 7 irons for some into these greens. So there's certainly that proximity from, call it 100 to, maybe 175 in there that you can start to splice out to see if, because they're going to be hitting a lot of shots from there. You got to keep it in the fairway there, but it is pretty generous here. Most guys will keep it in front of them here in the short grass. I played this course the day after Michelle Wee played years ago when she got heat stroke up here in Moline. And it's just amazing. Like, I'm a decent player, and I went in there and I played this course, and it was like -25 1 or something. Just silly, right? And I'm thinking to myself, like, -25, my God, right? I mean, they just make courses look so easy. Like, this is an easy course for a professional golfer. But then you go and you play it and you start doing the math and you're like, it's not that easy. Like, this rough is long, but they're just so dialed in. And when you're hitting wedges and 9s and 8s and it's relatively soft and the greens are perfect bent grass, like, they just go so low. I mean, they're just so dialed in with distance control. All right, let's start up top here. DraftKings, we're pulling it up. There's only, 4 in the above 10,000 range. Berger kicks it off. He's back. First time since the U.S. Open, where he played very well in the top 10. He's at 11,100. Sunjay M, 10,700. Harmon won here back in 2014, 10,400. And then there's last week's winner, Cameron Davis, 10,100, who padded that wallet right there of the man of Jeff Feinberg, who had him with the win ticket. Another win for Feinberg. Of those 4, do we just fade them all and go down somewhere else, or is there one that kind of sticks out to you?
If I did have to make a pick here, well, I will probably end up fading them. I feel like instead of trying to go to that nice restaurant, but it's like a cut above, I'd spend a bit more and buy Daniel Berger. To be perfectly honest, Travis, he's got top 10s and 50% of his starts this year. He won a field that, was almost the comparable mark for how bad a field can be up until maybe the Palmetto at Pebble Beach this year. And now we're at an even lower rung field. So we know, the field strength won't stop him from trying to bring his best golf here. From every stat metric that I would consider important this week, he ranks near the top. And I could argue, just comparing this week to last week, Travis,
Yeah.
The price point on Berger is exponentially more advantageous than Bryson compared to the guys behind him. The field behind Bryson last week was despite Bryson's struggle, there was more name value lined up behind Bryson. Then you go past Berger and Im, who's been so inconsistent, and Brian Harman are your next men up, and Cam Davis. Like, whether you're even talking, from the betting number, like I'm not betting it, but I'm just saying I think there's actually some value in comparing this to other weeks where fields are bad and there's kind of one standout player here. I think there could be opportunities this week for Dan Berger. Pains me to have to go right to the top when having this conversation, but that's who I would pick.
Yeah, I think I'm tracking right there with you. Cameron Davis, it's tough to follow up the big win, coming in. Sanjay's just so inconsistent. I just decided to just can him altogether for me. Like, I'll take my lumps when he shows up. But he's burned me so many times. And you look at Berger, that range of 150 to 175 that I talked about, he's certainly one of the best in the field when it comes to that. He's a class. You mentioned AT&T where he won in a less than desirable field. Here we are again. He was 5th here back in 2017. So I tend to agree up top there. I think Berger is the guy, although I won't be betting him, and I'll be spending more time down in the 9,000. That's where I want to go next. I want to kind of get right into the meat of this, kicking off with Henley, who I talked about earlier, who's having a hard time, I think, down the stretch here when the heat is on. We saw it at the U.S. Open. We saw it again, really, at the Travelers. Played some really nice golf. And then I think, there's those moments where the tournament hits the player and it's like, oh my gosh, I have a chance to win. And then you see a different kind of player. And Henley and Bubba, of course, went backwards when both of those scenarios happened. But he's a guy that you got to look at here at 99 for sure. He fits the profile in that approach game that we're looking for. Let's see, Henley 99, there's Streelman 97, Kevin Na 95, Noren 93.
Let me just stop you there. Yeah. I'm going to be pivoting away. I should say Na could be a really sneaky under the radar player when you consider his resume, his wins, and his ability to. If you really want, like he has an ability to catch fire. Right? Yes. Like go to easy courses and just get on such a birdie train and do that for 2.5 days of a tournament, hold forward on one day and give like a winning finish on Sunday. In sort of the early stuff that I have seen this week, he's kind of being really under the radar. So from an ownership perspective, that could be a guy to pay attention to.
Yeah, he hasn't been playing that great. Didn't play at the Rocket Mortgage. T47 Travelers missed the cut at the U.S. Open, which is not shocking. 32nd at the Schwab. But you're right. A guy that can get it going, right? And just unconscious. He starts walking it in from everywhere. Little cheesy smile. Gets under people's skin. You could see him doing it again here. T8 back in 2016 as we just look at the top here of the 9,000s. Gosh, I don't see any reason why Henley can't continue his good play here, and just start wearing the field out with that ball striking. We just see him so good with the short to mid irons and having so many good looks. Henley's a guy at 99. He's played well here in the past. Streelman, Streelman's an interesting name here, I think, as well. And Noren showed some good form last week as I worked down here towards the bottom here, and Aaron Wise at 92, Siwoo 91, and then perhaps the hottest player coming in the 9,000s could be Seamus Power, who's been, I got to tell you, I've been looking at him, Jeff, and just his overall game. This is a guy that is improving in a lot of assets of his game. His putting is getting better. His short game has gotten better. And more importantly than all of that, his approach game has gotten better. This dude all of a sudden is kind of rounding into a very nice player He's got 4 top 20s in his last 4 starts. Tell me why I wouldn't play Seamus Power here. I was all over him last week, but I think I'm going to be it again this week.
Yeah, I mean, this range is too great. I mean, it's full of a lot of interesting options, and you piggyback them with maybe the 2 most consistent players, in terms of Henley and Power. And yeah, Power got a lot of attention last week because he had that great course history, and people were noticing the form leading into a course that he had success at last year. And now there's kind of like a spotlight on what you just mentioned. Like, people, considering he was an alternate entry into last week, we're coming into an early in the week in a weak field, and it's people are really wrapping their heads around the fact 4 straight top 20s. So it is all trending in the right direction there. Kevin Streelman, I'm not going to be touching him, but maybe he's the guy to like, I just can't get over. There's like a mental block here for me.
Yeah.
Like, I cannot hit some. I'm even having a hard time getting it out of my mouth, Travis. I can't hit submit on Kevin Streelman at that number. I can't hit submit on Kevin Streelman at the number that like the outright boards want. Like, I just can't wrap my head around Kevin Streelman and that number. And I don't care. I get the field strength bumps them all up, even Harman at 10.1. But to me, like, Harman brings way more win equity than Streelman. So I'm looking right through Streelman, and that might be a guy that a lot of people who sort of think like me just don't like. They don't even want to look at that in their lineup at that price point. So maybe there is an opportunity, but I tell you, I'm all in on Alex Noren this week. I was about him last week at the Rocket Mortgage, and he is once again just showing up with these birdie opportunity courses. He's racking them up, Travis. A guy that we know has a propensity to win on the European Tour, obviously still waiting for that breakthrough, but he is a grinder. He is a form player, and I mean, the form is clearly there, capable of all the sorts of spike qualities that you do want in a player. So I'm all in on Noren at the 9,300 this week, and expecting everything from him, to be honest.
Sounds like a win ticket is coming on Alex Noren.
Yes, the win ticket has been made.
It's already been made. Okay, so what'd you get it at?
I got it at 33. It's kind of been dropping, but I think it's still 30, 33, maybe seen it as low as 28. This is also one of those events where the field is so bad. I'm a fan of Alex Noren, so it's like there's a player I like. I sense this week presents an opportunity. I am going to back him. My partner in crime, Pat Mayo, though, is all in on Siwoo Kim.
Yeah,
sees this as a perfect, despite being like a Siwoo Kim disciple in this field with this field strength. You know, this is a guy that's already won this year. I mean, outside of Berger, who in this field is carrying, well, I guess here Cam Davis bring it up too, but he has an ability to get absolutely unconscious. And at 9,100, I believe it is on DraftKings, could be the absolute steal of the 9,000 or 9,000 and above range, all the way up to Berger.
You know what's interesting with Streelman, you look at this field and you start looking at the last 50 rounds. Like, he's number 1 strokes gained par 4.
Amazing.
He's very good in that range of 125 to 175. He's going to give himself a ton of good looks, but I'm with you. 9,700. My goodness. Like, it is hard. It is hard to hit the submit button on that. And you're certainly, knock and get hot. I think in this range, I'm definitely, giving some people some things to think about. I mean, I am on Seamus Power. I see improvement across the board. I love when players are showing growth across multiple levels of their game, rather than just that one little level going this way. You're seeing a player mature and become more well-rounded, like a Sam Burns, like we saw years ago, who he's kind of evolved into who he is. He's got multiple strengths. So I think it's very enticing. I love Power at 9,000. I mean, Siwoo, I totally agree. You're getting such good ball striking with Siwoo. Par 4 scoring, par 5 scoring, lots of birdies looks. he's one of the class in this field at 91.
You can argue you're getting the second most win equity in this field with Siwoo Kim.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of leaning in the bottom there. Power, Kim, with a little bit of Noren, certainly sprinkle in Strillman in a few of my teams as well. All right, let's move down to 8,000 here.
I'm going to stop you quick.
Well, let me get through the 8s first. Let me give the let me lay it out there here. Let me give you the top layer first, and then you can give me your top guy. Patton Kazire, 89. McNeely, 88. Speaking of AT&T, he was right there with Berger. Troy Merritt, unconscious, pride of Boise State. The Broncos here in Idaho, connecting all of the dots. Lucas Glover, 86. Hank Lebioda is on fire at 84. All right, who's your boy up top?
I am going to eat the 8,000 range chalk, and you could argue it's a cocky move to, jump over Troy Merritt potentially and some other guys, maybe even, in that high 8,000s, but I am all in on Patton Kazire this week. Yeah. Crushing to see how much I got to pay to do it in both DraftKings and, from an outright perspective. You're always hoping for more when you're taking a player who, feel like winning might be a huge ask. But that 8 under, 64 on Sunday at the Rocket Mortgage, and he was scorching on Thursday at the Rocket Mortgage. I think he was like at 7, and he made a triple. I don't know how you make a triple in Detroit, Travis. I don't even know if there was more than one triple in Detroit this week, but it was done by Patton Kazire. That is always possible. But an absolute spike putter. I think John Deere sets up perfectly for him. Seems like there are a few other people who have this thought because he's captain of the $8,000 range. And you know me, I'm all about outrights. I mean, you're lucky to pull a 50 on Patton this week. So I could argue, or you could make the point, this is me just trying to be cocky and call a shot, but feels like, for all the, the muck that this field, presents, I do feel like Patton could be on the precipice of something. There's been a lot of clean golf surrounded by some horror, and we just got to do a little cleaning up, and Patton's going to be there Sunday.
Yeah, he's he's an interesting player, Patton, because there's so much conversation with players where we make our case, and then we're like, if he could just have a good putting week, right? Where Patton, it's like it's on the other end of the spectrum. Where he kind of gets erratic is off the tee. His driver can really leave him quickly. So, but I agree. On the other side, his putting, he can fill it up. He's kind of showing that he can go low. And when he shows up, you're looking at a third and a fourth like he did there earlier in the year. And then he missed 3 straight cuts because his driver's all over the place. And then he comes back, good Rocket Mortgage, in the top 25, but still his driver was all over the place. So if he could just keep it in front of him reasonably well, I think it's certainly a good play.
He's also, he also fits the qualities, in my opinion, that will lead to the winner this week. And maybe this is a simplistic way of looking at it, but he's done really well at like the birdie barrage events. I'm noticing he finished 7th at the Sony at a winning score of 21 under for Nah. 3rd at Byron Nelson, where KH Lee chopped up at 24 under. 3rd at the Charles Schwab, where Kokrak won. So these events where we are seeing like you're not going to get around like plodding. You have to fill the cup. He has kind of been around in those events, sort of like Noren has for me. So it's a quality. It's like maybe it's a very niche skill set, but you've got to be able to have like 2 ridiculous rounds to win this golf tournament. Like not good rounds, ridiculous rounds, in my opinion.
Yeah. Maverick McNeely is in there. I don't know if he does enough in the approach game for me. He's kind of opposite of Kazire. He's a good driver of the ball, good putter. His approach game is where probably his opportunity is. Can he do enough there? I think you've kind of sold me on Kazire. I certainly looking at him at the 89, I'm probably perhaps a little too in love with what I'm seeing with power right now. Certainly like Kim as we work down. Zach Johnson, we know can play this golf course, right? And it's a course at 7,200 that he's not going to get chewed up by length.
He might be the most popular outright pick I have seen from this little bubble on Twitter that I am in.
Yeah.
I'm seeing, I'm not going to be on Zach, but I've seen his name showing up on a lot of people who I respect's cards this week. So I would anticipate that correlates to a very popularly owned $8,500 ZJ.
Probably the best putter in the field right now coming in. Has been putting well. He's number one last 50 rounds in the field. Would you take Lebioda over Johnson? Recent play. Hank's showing some form. Hasn't quite got it done at the end, but seems to last 2 weeks. Lebioda has found that hot putter, +5, +6. Can he keep it going here? Bent grass, he loves it.
Yeah, this seems like a very, I don't know if I'm going to be there maybe on DraftKings, but I am more tempted by the outright.
Yeah.
For Hank. I've seen it as high as 70-1, and like just based on a hot player playing well, he's been spiking with the putter. You know, his form is a lot on a form like metric. He shouldn't be 70-1. So I think there could be some opportunities there because I started so high and will be so heavily invested with Kazire. It's sort of the guys at the bottom of this tier that could have my roster spots.
So Hank, I mean, just go ahead and win this and hop on the plane, head over to the Open Championship. Why not? Let's keep it going. Ryan Moore, he's played well here. He certainly gives it to you in that range, 125 to 175. He checks out very well there. It's the putter that can hold him back at times. Doc Redman, again, we know we get the ball striking. Kind of let some people down perhaps last week. Munoz at 81. Then there's Gim at 8,000, Vegas at 8,000. I predicted, I tweeted out a couple weeks ago with Gim. I was very happy to see him switch over to a different putting coach who I had on the podcast a couple weeks ago. I think we're going to start seeing some improvement with Gim with the flat stick. There's a ways to go there. But when you look at it from a ball striking standpoint, Doug Gim can go. It's just whether or not he can get anywhere near the cup. And certainly he's going to have to make a lot of putts here if he wants to have a chance to win his first. But at the bottom there, Johnny Vegas, 8,000. I mean, dude gets it done. Par 4, par 5 scoring average in the field. You going back to Johnny V?
Listen, a guy whose name I've seen pop up quite a lot this week. I know the course comp isn't really there, but he has won some absolute birdie bonanza fests up in Canada a couple times here, yeah. Travis.
At Abbey, yeah.
Yeah, no, he's trending in the right direction, but it's that $8,200 on Doc Redman that has my attention. You mentioned that he did burn a lot of people last week, and hey, Neiman burned a lot of people at the Travelers.
Yep.
And I was just like, no, I'm going back. Maybe I was greedy and thinking the Travelers, maybe obviously didn't set up for him maybe as well or as forgiving. But Redman, he's been really consistent with the putter. It is all about approach play. He profiles as a player who I really do like this week. He was hyper popular last week. Now in a weaker field, there's just as much of an opportunity, if not more. I cut these guys way more slack than maybe I should if I feel they've been playing well and they miss a cut. I don't know. This stuff's so random. One thing gets you off and it gets away from you. And you feel if guys are filling the cup and you're not, like your head can start spinning. I don't know. I could never compare to where these guys are at mentally, but you just, the grind is the grind, and sometimes you fall off the horse, but get back on. And I'm expecting a big bounce back from Doc.
Yeah, especially when it's just like incremental across the game, right? Like it's so easy to lose a stroke here, lose a stroke there. You get a couple bad bounces and you miss a cut. But before that, the Rocket Mortgage, hey, the approach game, I think it's been pretty solid. His putting, he's been on a decent run, really, for the better part of March, April, May, and June. Yeah, I like Doc Redman a lot here as well. I'm trying to pull back up here real quick here in the 8,000s. I mentioned Ryan Moore. He won back in 2016. That's what I was trying to think of. And Doc Redman, T37 here last year. Yeah, does that matter to you? How much do you look at that, Jeff? Do you go back and look at, the last 5 years or so for players in playing a golf course where it's playing a tournament where it's on the same course every time?
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of things you can look at. I was actually reading up on that T37, I want to say in 2019. That's a good enough omen for me to he made the cut. He played 4 rounds. He gained 3.5 strokes on the bent grass greens that week.
Yeah.
So based on where the approach is and a positive experience on the greens in 4 rounds, I could take that T37, and that's really all. That's more than enough for me.
Yeah.
In his first run ever here on the course, in his rookie season. So yeah, that's good enough for me to certainly think I could go back to the well.
Yep. All right. In this group, I'm gonna keep going with Lebioda at 84. I'm gonna get back on with Lebioda, and yeah, I like the Kazire play too at 89. Looking closer here, those are probably the two with a little bit of Redmond.
Yeah. And I just want to pull back on something I said. I did say I could argue Lebioda is a better outright pick. I actually totally take that back. He's just been too lights out and consistent to not think that he would be worth rostering, even if his ownership is high. Back-to-back top 5s. He's been hot with the putter. Leads the field in strokes gained total over the past 5 events. So, and he's been a cut maker, right? 6 straight cuts made. So completely I want to retract my statement. He seems like an incredibly safe DraftKings play, and especially at 8,400. Noted.
I just made a check mark. We tracted it back outright and in. I mean, why not? I mean, dude gets it going on bent grass. I mean, he's played at Florida State. Bent grass is best. He's going to have very similar surfaces here. Just keep that train going. That's what these guys do, man. Confidence goes a long ways.
And I am I'm sure people will look at it like there was a missed opportunity for Hank, and that's clear. But I'm always more winning's hard. Tasting winning is such, yes, you could have your just run through it and win and catch lightning in a bottle, but you got to taste it. So if we're lucky enough to have Hank in a position this Sunday, well, you'll be that much more prepared to conquer it. Well, not all of them are going to be like Tony Finau and just
like I said with Seamus Power, in Lebioda, and I know Hank well because we have the same agent. So I've got some insight with Lebioda, and he's a guy that is getting more comfortable, obviously, out there. And his game, like Power, is showing growth across the board. You're seeing him putt better now. You're seeing his short game getting better. You're seeing his approach game improving. You're seeing his driving getting better. He's just getting more comfortable, right? And every facet of his game is starting to trend. You look at his last 5 versus, the 10 before that, strokes gained tee to green, huge improvement. The putter certainly on a heater right now, but I like the growth across the board. And you just get back on those bent grass greens again this week, very similar to Detroit. Just keep filling it up, Hank, right? And he looks more comfortable. At the Travelers, he got a little tight, I thought, when his name got up top there. You could see it, then it went bogey. I think he got a little tight. I think last week he looked a little bit more comfortable. Let's see if he can get back in that situation again late on Sunday, because that's the only way you can get better at it, is you just keep putting yourself in that situation. And in a field like this, why not? right? You just keep doing what you're doing. You're going to be right back in that situation once again. All right.
And if you play well this week, you get into a playoff this week, you're not going to have to, there's a probability you're not taking on Daniel Berger. You're going to have to beat Cameron Davis. You're going to have to beat Troy Merritt. You're going to have to beat Kramer Hickok.
Right.
So these are the type of events that, like, we're going to talk about these guys in that $7,000 range right now, Travis. These are the type of events those guys are like licking their chops at. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Like this field, this event, maybe they're playing great. Maybe they're just, in the middle of the road. But, just like a major championship is seen as a preeminent, I feel like I'm using that word a lot, opportunity for players to get to a level. There's 140 guys who this tournament gets them to that feeling that a major would feel like for Xander next week. Literally.
Yeah. Well, all I got to do is just say these last two names at one: Dylan Fratelli and Michael Kim.
Done.
That's our
80 to 1. I don't even know what Michael Kim's outright odds are, but yeah, that also just throw anything you want at the John Deere. Like,
right.
You can't besmirch anyone's pick. It's a fire card.
Let's find our winner here in the 7,000. Stop me when you like a name. Charles Howell III. Kyle Stanley. Speaking of hitting a golf ball, my goodness. I think, but he doesn't stop me. He says, keep going. Harold Varner III.
Well,
you love
I'll stop
Varner.
you there because I never get him right ever, but I do believe his spike qualities can lead to what happens here. And you can make a case for a lot of guys in this range and find things within their metrics, but Varner's the type of guy that can run pretty even in like 3 of the 4 metrics and absolutely spike in one of them. And that's the type of week that I'm counting on. Although I had the nuts last week, like I had that leaderboard circled, and Harold Varner cost me so much money on DraftKings when I looked at some of my lineups at the end of the week. So he has hurt my soul. And I didn't mean to throw any shade at Kyle Stanley. He's totally in play here. Like he could stick it to 3 feet for 4 straight days.
Kyle Stanley is just lightning in a bottle with the putter, and look out. Because he gets dialed in. Speaking of the Northwest, lives in Spokane, Washington. Anyway, moving on. Dylan Fratelli, he going back there, back to back. No tournament last year. He was the champ back in 2019.
I'll stop to say, seems to play really good golf in Texas. He was a Longhorn. We saw him advance through his pod in Austin. He won this last year. I know people go to some of these other Texas events and like to make ties to Fratelli. So why not? But I don't know. I'm going to embarrass myself and not pick the defending champion, but for the same price, roster a guy like Bo Hostler, Travis, who he's been playing so well. Team High Crown Visor, Lebiota Hostler.
Well, I can tell you this, that Hostler changed putting coaches about a month ago, and it's paying off for him. And his putting has really improved last few weeks.
Wasn't that always his that was always his absolute strength, was it not?
Well,
his ability to putt?
Yeah, I mean, his whole game at Texas was good. I mean, like you look at Hostler, it was Hostler 1, Scheffler 2, Doug Gim 3. I'm missing a name there at 4. A student of mine was 5, Taylor Funk, who I taught when at the time.
Hickok.
Was it Hickok was 4?
I don't know. I'm just
no. Hickok was before that. Yeah, he was back in the Spieth days. So Hostler was the class. I mean, at Texas, and now they've turned pro, and Scheffler has become the better pro to this point. And Bo just hasn't gotten fully comfortable. Now you look at him the last 3 weeks. We're looking at 3 top 25 finishes. Beautiful golf swing. His putter, though, has been I think has let him down, but
capable of the spike putting.
Yeah, a change. I think you're starting to see some momentum here with Bo Hostler. I'm with you. He was the first guy going down this list that I've got circled. I like how he's trending. Pat Perez, 77. There's Hickok, 77. God, talk about absolute heartbreak in getting two putts not to fall, right? I mean, those putts should have fell. I mean, those were two perfect putts, and neither one of them was able to go in. He could have easily had his first win there at the Travelers. And then you've got Stricker, 77. He knows it. Are you going to play Stricker? I mean, my goodness, at 77.
I think he's going to have I got no interest in any sort of win markets for Stricker, but I think Stricker's going to play great this week.
Yeah.
And people are like, why isn't he, there's a senior major. Well, I don't know. 25th place pays a hell of a lot more here than it does there. And he always seems to play well here. And, he just won a senior major and doesn't really care for maybe the senior open. An event that's been so important to him in his career has more priority. I will probably be one of the few, I'm not so much here for Zach, but I could be very much here for Strecker at 77. I know they're connected in some way because they're both such, great career veterans and dominant John Deere players that I've sort of connected them in all my talkings this week.
I'm with you. I think I don't see why you wouldn't play him. I mean, the guy's playing great golf. There's a few guys on the Ryder Cup that should follow his lead and just let their clubs do the talking instead of their mouth doing the talking. But yeah, I think Stricker's a play. You get down to Richie Wierenski. Here's got him pulled up here. Wierenski, who 25 last week. The putters picked up here. He's getting back on bent grass greens. And is Richie Crickets at 76. Sepp Straka, 76. Mito.
Fun, but no.
At 76. EVR, he's always popular, isn't he? 75?
I think he's out. I want to say he's
out?
in Scott. I'm not sure. I've seen his name on both fields.
EVR. Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure what's going on there, but it's $7,500 Chez Reavie, who I think is sort of the perfect plotter for this course and will probably be forgotten after he really let people down last week. Yep. So I think there's a sneaky opportunity for Chez here this week.
Yeah, he certainly checks the boxes in that 125 to 175 range. The guy, that's where he makes his hay. If he can get it into that number, he's one of the best in the field in the approach game. Certainly from those distances, will do enough off the tee. Just comes down to that damn putter for Reavie, like it does so many. There's Lewis, 75. He popped last week. I was on him.
Tempting again, to be honest, to go back there.
Yeah, it is, right? You do the handicapping last week and the guys that hit for you, and now you come over here and there's so many similarities. You just throw them right back in, right? And I think Lewis is one that certainly deserves that look. JT posting 75. I'll probably pass this week. Stallings, 74. Hubbard, I imagine he'll be kind of popular at 74.
Yeah, he was in it deep last year, I want to say. I could be wrong.
No, he was. Marcus Hubbard. As we scroll down here. Oh, that's the wrong one. And let's see here. Yeah, Poston hasn't played well here. No, Hubbard was it was back in 2015. He was T24. Wow. Stallings had a top 20 here last year. Back to your boy Harold Varner real quick. He was 6th back in 2018, so he certainly has popped here.
I am going to say another name that we've yet to mention in this price.
God,
a guy that has popped here.
Don't say Patrick Rogers.
Well, I'm just going to mention the fact that year Bryson won here, it was that Sunday morning. Everyone was making the jokes. I hope Patrick brought his passport because it looks like he's going to be the one lucky winner of the seat on the charter to the Open. And he just made a total mess of all like the easy holes. I remember that day.
That's what he does, though.
And that I guess had to be a demoralizing day, but this is the place of, I would say, maybe I'm forgetting an event, but that was probably the best opportunity in his career to win. In some ways, maybe that can reignite some good memories. It's weird though, because it's not a course you would think would suit Patrick Rogers, but guys can overpower it. I mean, we saw skinny Bryson. He was a different player when he won, so it's even unfair to compare him to what he would do here today, hypothetically. But it doesn't seem like guys with the Rogers skill set end up in that winner's circle. And you have to asterisk, as I said, the Bryson win, because he was skinny Bryson.
Yeah, I totally agree. I look at Patrick Rogers and it's like, he's got such a beautiful golf swing, right? And then you look at him statistically and it's just like, how? Like, how are you at the bottom of strokes gain approach when it comes to having that kind of golf swing? And then his strength is his putter. He is a brilliant putter. He's a beautiful putter. And yeah, you're right. I don't think, he doesn't check the boxes from 125 to 175. Keith Mitchell's played decent here. A couple years ago, he had a top 10, 74. Piercy, 7,300. Luke List, 73. Not really the ballpark I wouldn't think for List. Norlander. Yeah. He's back, folks. Henrik Norlander is back from the dead.
Form player.
He's a guy that fits this golf course, isn't he?
Absolutely. And he's shown us in what we've seen of Henrik Norlander on our televisions in his career is when he gets in form, he usually keeps it for a couple of weeks. So I'm all in 7,300 for my rosters.
Yeah, I've been on Norlander. I think I'll go back to him as well here. I like him. Garnett, 73. Matthew Naismith at 72. Naismith, you could make the argument is probably top 3 ball striker in this field.
I'm a big sucker for this guy. I don't know that I'm going to be there, but yeah, I'm always impressed when he shows up on my radar.
So I had his putting coach on the podcast yesterday, Marcus Potter, and I said, can we just get Naismith to pick this train up a little bit with this club, right? Because he can go. I mean, he can strokes gained approach in this field last 50 rounds, number one. I mean, he can really go. Putter shows up, watch out.
And he was a guy, I mean, it's a quality that I think you could sort of find anything to defend a guy you want to back or bet. But I do believe guys that had really great Corn Ferry runs deserve an extra check mark because everywhere they go is pretty much 24 under winning courses.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So they they can't just find their way around golf courses. They are intrinsically learn, to succeed on that tour, you have got to pump the birdies.
Yeah, you do. Well, and back to the PGA Tour champions, you got to pump the birdies there too, for the most part, non-majors. Back to the Stricker, he's used to having to go 67, 66 every single round. CT Pond could be a good spot for him at 72. Nick Taylor, 72. Chesson, 72. Haggy Pop, they're last week?
Yeah,
at 72. There's Putnam, 71. Bo Hogue, 71. Ryan Armour could be interesting, couldn't he, at 71?
Yeah, I got nothing bad to say there. I was gonna wait one more price.
One more?
Give you a name.
All right, let's go. Brian Stewart, 71. The HUD, 71. Swafford. Kadira. You're going to go there, aren't you, at 7,000?
No.
No.
Keep going. Keep
Okay.
going.
Martin Laird, 7,000. Von Taylor, 7,000. Tyler Duncan, 7,000. He's going to go to the putter, isn't he? Denny McCarthy, 7,000.
No, but
You're
Denny,
going all the way down to our boy Jimmy Herman, the ball striker?
I am going to Jimmy Herman. I think he's got back-to-back 25th places at 7,000. That's just the exact sort of sneaky form you need.
Love it.
7,000. The guy's been playing very low pro quality golf. Yeah, so I could see Jim Herman making good on that $7,000 price point. No problem with the way that he has been playing. And per usual, I mean, the guy's got to pretty much probably finish like top 5 to ever get noticed. So 2 very quiet, T5, T25, T30s, exact type of $7,000 guy I need.
Love it. Von Taylor had, tied for 6 here in 2019. He's actually, Von Taylor has played pretty good here historically. You start looking at guys that need to make the cut here down in this range. Nick Taylor's, I don't know why I'm being hung up there a little bit. T33, T34 for him the last 2 times here. Tyler Duncan, T26, T12. So there's certainly some guys down here. As I pull back up here, I failed to mention back in the 7,400 range. Scott Stallings, sneaky. He's got 3 top 20s here in the last 4. I meant
a nice Sunday at the Rocket.
Yep.
Saw his name flash. I think he finished 11 under.
I think I like Stallings. I think I'm going to go back to Lewis. I think I am going to play some Reavie. I'm going to play some Stricker. Like, those are some of the names that I'll probably be heavy on in the 7,000s. And I'm probably going to talk myself into Nick Taylor too at some point. All right, let's give these guys some value picks. 6,000s. We're going to give them each 2 names. You go first.
I'm going to start close to the top, Travis. I'm going to pay the 6,900 for Rafa Cabrera Bello, a guy I have bet 150 to 1 on the outright. Obviously, that's an enormous ask. And it's a motley crew down here. But we have seen Rafa finding some nice form, finding some nice rounds, showing up very briefly near the top of leaderboards. We saw him sort of about a month ago become a first round warrior. Then we sort of saw him turn it into being like good for 2 rounds. And maybe this week I can get 3 rounds. And then I take a ticket in a nice position to Sunday and cross my fingers and, hope for, a T15, T10 in DraftKings. But, I look at all the names in this range and there's a ceiling. There's a ceiling there for me. We've seen some nice things. So like I said, turn 2 good rounds into 3 good rounds and progress. And I think it could be a nice spot for Rafa. So I'll start it right there at 6,900 with a player I'm going to roster and I have bet to win.
Very nice. Very nice. I'm going to go back to what the philosophy earlier and just continuing the vibes from last week. Going back to Shank at 6,800. Made the cut last week at Rocket Mortgage. Hit the ball very well. I think he does the same things tee to green. And you can get me a little spike in putting, which he does. He spiked at Byron. He spiked at RBC. Didn't putt terrible last week. Back on these bent grass greens. He's an Indiana kid. And, I think he's got some ties to this area. And I'm going to go back to Shank at 68. Make the cut in a top 25. Who you got your last one?
Last one, geez, it's sort of a cop-out. But I don't know. JJ Spawn, another guy that just seems to be a little form, right? He can disappear forever. But when he's got it, he seems to hold it for just a little bit. So at 6,600, JJ Spawn is a guy with my attention, and just I got to throw in one more name. I think Sam Ryder is going to be perpetually forgotten this week.
That was my guy.
Yeah. Okay.
Go ahead.
I'm just gonna say, yeah. So I guess I'm happy I said Spawn, so it can lead into this. Yeah, I think he's going to be a really sharp play this week, sneakies. So yeah, lay it
totally
on.
Totally agree. I think there's two guys here. I think that are on my list in 68. Ryder's one of them. T18, T2, and then I think you know Andrew Landry could be overlooked here. There's just some courses that guys love. Landry loves this course and plays good here. He's got 2 top 8s in the last 3 times he's played this. I really like Landry, and I like Ryder in this. And I'm a total sucker for Vincent Whaley. I think he's that. I don't think I'll play him here, but he's, you know, this is his first time here at this event. He's a young player, up and coming. It's probably not exactly his spot, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Whaley make the cut. I think he's a talented player that is going to figure this out and get into that winner's circle here within the next year. And this could be the kind of field that he needs to maybe to do that. So yeah, it's JJ Spawn. What's he at? 6,600.
Yeah.
Bill Haas finished tied for 10th last year. 60. Oh man. As we continue down, Jonas Blix, don't sleep.
He catches. I mean, all I could say about Blix is, I guess, like sort of in a Danny Lee fashion. If you check a leaderboard and you're like, whoa, he's like 6 under through 8 holes. Yep. Like he has that in him, but it'll go away.
Don't sleep. Blix can flat out putt when he's won twice.
Yeah, it's like an eclipse.
Oh my God. He is. So Jonas used to, when I ran the academy at Sawgrass, he was there all the time, and he worked with one of our guys, and you go out and watch that guy putt. It's the silliest thing you've ever seen in your life. I mean, it's like he's putting to a damn basketball hoop. That's just, I mean, it's unbelievable how good of a putter he was. Now he's coming back from injury. We're starting to see him round into form. But 6,200, he'll be filling up in a few spots for me. And there's Michael Kim. We'll finish up with him. The champion back in 2018 is 6,100 in DraftKings, and that's a wrap. So many guys, my man Feinberg, Jeff, I appreciate it. Congratulations last week. Just keep it going this week, man.
All the best, buddy. Big things. Open Championship next week. Summer, exciting times.
All right, buddy. Sounds good. Let me know what clubs you're going to get, and I'll help you out. And I'm sending you some Vero X1 golf balls from Encore. Text me your address.
Beautiful. Can't wait.
All right, Jeff Feinberg, that's the matchup. We'll see you next week, Open Championship.